Hello, welcome back to the Land Rover Toolbox videos. Just a little tip here for checking levels, such as your diff oil level. You can bend over a cable tie and use it as a dipstick to see where the level of your oil is. Okay, well, we're going to go up a grade now and look at original technical publications, which are paid for PDFs. I'll generally put you in the right direction. Bearmark has an accessories catalogue, and in the catalogue under miscellaneous it has publications. Not only can you get a free parts finder disc from them, you also have these publications which are the professional technical documents, and there's a lot to them. You can either use paper or disc, it's up to you. They work on a Mac as well as a PC, and you have a lot of choice here, which is most of the vehicles in the Land Rover range. Okay, I use both paper and a disc. LTP 3003 is the Land Rovers from 1983 to 2006, which has a lot of technical information on here, in fact most of it. Okay, so I'm going to go to the 300 TDI manual, which is relevant for our vehicle, and go over to general information. Click on that and it'll take us through to what we need. I've already opened up and had a look, and I've got the recommended lubricants and fluids, but what I'll show you, you have a search bar on the right hand side. Put in fluids, and what we'll see is a list of recommended fluids, lubricant practice. What we're looking for is not lubricant practice but recommended fluids, and this will take us onto this chart here. Okay, so what we're looking for: final drive units, swivel pin housings and transfer box. I'll let you look at your leisure the ambient temperature or viscosity index, EP80 or 90s, and what you'll notice there's an API GL5 index, and that's for the final drive unit, swivel pin housings or transfer box. This will be BA4732, which is the part number for the EP80W90, and it has the API index here, which is a GL5, which is great. These are 1 litre containers, and for the Land Rover you're going to want about 7 litres, or that's what I used on the 300 TDI. Capacities are here: front diff 1.7, rear diff 1.7, and the transfer gearbox casing at 2.3. If you fancy changing your oils often, invest in one of these pumps. We've put the fluid into the pump, and this makes it much easier to fill the diffs and the gearbox up. On the 300 TDI version of the Defender, all we have is a fill plug, no level plug or drain plug. This has already been omitted. According to Land Rover later vehicles, a drain plug and level plug have been deleted. And on the bottom here it will tell you that it's EP00 grease, which is the one-shot grease. Not sure how long a lifetime service is on Land Rover, but that's what it's supposed to stay in there for. Okay, so getting into reality, what we have is a level fill plug and a drain plug. We also have a drain bucket and also a magnet. This will be for the front axle, just to see if there's any metal swarf at all, and luckily through all of the transmission components there's none. First thing to do, 1/2 inch drive or 13mm square, knock out the level plug. The reason for this is it will actually make it easier to drain off the fluid, and I'll show you in a little while. Now stop just here, just before you undo it, or just as you're about to undo it, notice to see if there's any pressure in there. If it hisses, it's because the breathers are blocked, and that needs to be rectified immediately. It doesn't apply to this axle, but if you have an excess of oil, it's probably because it's come through the swivels if you have EP oil in them, and this is because the seals failed. This one's okay. What you have to watch with the front axle, it tends to wear the oil quicker than any other of the components. Right, so with the transfer box you have a level plug here, which you can see where it is, reference it and you'll find it on your vehicle, and that's quite awkward to get at, but that's also 1/2 inch drive. Once the level or fill plug is removed, then just check to see what level your oil is at. Sometimes your little finger doesn't work. As you can see, there's no oil on there, which is quite disconcerting. And that little trick I showed you earlier works very well to see what level your gearbox is at. This you can assess whether there's going to be any damage in there or not. And yes, there is oil in there, so we're possibly okay there. Safe. This does have a leak, and it's obvious here by the amount of oil that isn't in there that it needs to be rectified or checked more often. On this particular vehicle we have a Salisbury axle, and the drain plug actually does have a nut on this one. Level again is a little bit low, just checking to make sure there's oil in there. Okay, now draining off the fluid, you have a bung plug. Again, this is 1/2 inch drive, or use a 1/2 inch drive ratchet or breaker bar. Okay, and unscrew it and wait for it to come out. Now if you notice this is lopping out, look up to your right hand top corner. The drain plug is actually in. If you remove the drain plug like I'm showing you here, what will happen, it will pour much better and you have better control on it. So remember that's just another handy hint. Let it all drain out. The oil here is worn and it's slightly emulsified, so it's had moisture in there. Heavy emulsification or lots of water in the oil, it will look like a light or milky coffee colour. On the Salisbury axle, the drain plug is in a different place to the banjo type differential casings, and it's on the bottom here. Easy to get at, 1/2 inch drive again, and again drain it out, get the fluid out. This oil isn't half as bad as the front. What we'll do is both axles and the transfer box together, because they should be done at the same time. Transfer box, 17mm socket, undo the drain plug here. Now this one's a bit stiff. You've got to be careful because this is into aluminium. Also, it will take a little bit longer to drain off. It also has a magnetic plug on it, and check that for swarf. This one's okay. As you notice, it's a smaller drain plug hole, so it will take longer to come out. Just be aware that the wind will also blow and lash it everywhere. The planetary gear peg can snap and drop in the bottom of the casing, and it's always worth looking. This is not a very good design for the front axle of the Land Rover. However, there's no large pieces in here, so we're all right. So after it's all drained off, we're going to be wanting to put the bung plugs back in. Transfer gearbox, alright, this is different. Clean the drain plug, replace the copper washer and apply Hylamar to the threads, and then fit it to 13 Newton meters. Same goes for the filler plug after you've filled it. It doesn't seem to apply to the front and rear axle plugs. Difference here is this is an aluminium casing, so be careful. If you know how to estimate 30 Newton meters, it's not a problem. Otherwise use a torque wrench. The front and rear casings, the drain plugs are actually on a tapered thread, so that's not too much of a problem. Just take it easy. Just nip it up until you can feel resistance and give it a little bit of a tug. That's all you need to do. No, don't cram it up. Right, so after then drain plugs are in, we can fill up the diff, the rear diff, until the level overflows. Okay, so when you're buying fluid, make sure you have a little bit extra. You can see the level's right and it's overflowing just now. That is exactly how you want it. That is level. Same goes for the transfer box. So once those are done, you can fit your drain plugs back in and away you go. The oil is changed. Right, so intervals for oil changing. Looking at the service sheet, we're looking for renew transfer gearbox oil, renew front and rear axle oils. Now this will be on a C service. Looking at the top here, you'll see the service intervals will be C service 24 months, C service 48 months, C service 72 months, which means every 2 years, which is front axle, rear axle and transfer box together. What you'll find, the special operating conditions, is that you're going to have to, if you're using it in muddy, dusty or wet terrain, then the service intervals are going to be a lot less. What they recommend monthly is to renew gearbox and renew the transfer box oil. I would also add that you need to do the axles as well, because they are the ones that do the hardest work.